Welcome to Bible/Chat. Jason, hi.
Hey. Hi.
I shouldn't say that so fast. Welcome to Bible/Chat. Jason, hi.
You eat fast, talk fast, just drive fast.
Just annoying.
Go.
I don't drive that fast.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Hey, come on. Okay, maybe a little fast.
I asked somebody close to your family.
Don't ask anyone close to my family.
Her
Please
name is
don't.
rhymed with
Probably not.
Melissa.
Oh, no.
That's gospel.
No. No,
Should we turn... You still want to keep doing this one?
Oh, it's fine.
Oh,
It's fine. No problem. So, can we just ask,
kidding.
what is that squeaking sound?
Do you guys hear it on there? I hope you don't.
I hope not.
It is this chair. I apologize.
You're not stepping on a puppy? I think, with the way that your attitude has been lately.
Yeah, it's just stepping on puppies.
Bad.
No, I don't have a bad attitude at all.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
11.
Okay, good, yeah. So last time we talked about the hidden treasure and the costly pearl.
We did. Now we're on to the last one, right?
Yeah.
This is the Dragnet, which he also actually references the same event in the Tares explanation, right?
Yep.
So can you explain that for us?
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Yeah, so again, this is another one that's very interesting because he's talking about the end of the age, right? So this is, in verse 49, it says, so it will be at the end of the age. And that's the third time that he said that in the text. So he's pointing them to the end. He's saying the kingdom is something that happens starting with him, that he's going to initiate something here. And then at the end of the age, you're going to see the kingdom flourish, right? You're going to see the actual realities of the kingdom.
Right.
During this time, there's a sense in which we're being added to the kingdom. We're not in it yet. The time is coming when the kingdom will be materialized, and that'll take place.
Right.
And this is a dragnet. It's a very interesting image. So it's fishermen. They throw a net out behind the boat, and they just row. And whatever they catch, they pull up, right? And they just pull up whatever comes up in the net, pull it in. And obviously, if you're just dragging a net through the water, you're going to get some nasty stuff and some fish you don't want to eat, and bottom dwellers, and all sorts of things.
Of course.
So that's the image that's being painted here. But then among that will also be good fish.
Yeah.
And so Jesus says that's what's going to be like at the end of the age. The angels are going to come forth and take out the wicked from among the righteous and throw them into the furnace of fire. And that place that will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is the kingdom, just like the tares and the wheat, the kingdom will include both good and bad together side by side, and they'll be dragged in the dragnet. And then at the end of the age, the angels come and they eliminate the unrighteous from among them, and that's really the close of the history of the world.
Right.
And we see this actually in Jesus' description of the sheep and goats judgment.
Yeah.
When he comes, it says in Matthew 25 that he's going to sit on his glorious throne.
Yeah.
And we flip over there.
No.
And he will judge between the sheep and the goats.
Judgment.
Right. It says, and when he sits on his glorious throne, all the nations will be gathered before him. He'll separate them one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats.
Exactly.
He will put the sheep on his left, on his right, and the goats on his left. And what he's doing is he's saying, these are the true ones, they're going to go into the kingdom, and these are the false ones, they're going to go into weeping and gnashing of teeth. Same language is used at the end of that statement on the judgment. Yeah. So that's really the exact same event. He's saying, here's what the kingdom looks like. Everyone's going to stand before me, and I'm going to judge them, and I'm going to put the sheep over here and the goats over here. Yeah. So the people who are professing Christ, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are true believers. It just means that that we hope they are, right, in this age. But a time will come when Christ will make it evident who they
actually a sheep,
who they truly were. Yeah. And so it's same idea, same judgment, same warning idea that you covered in the parable of the tares and the wheat. It's interesting because he tells the disciples at the end of Matthew 13 there, after he's given them the parables, he says, do you understand these things? Yeah. And they say, we get it, right? We understand it. Yeah. So they're getting what he's communicating. He's saying to them, look, you don't know the hearts of people. You're like the dragnet. You're just pulling in, right? Yeah. Same with the soil. The sower doesn't know the soil. No, right. But you just watch and wait, and some will be false and some will be true. Exactly. And you're just observing those things taking place. Exactly. Don't worry about that. At the end of the age, God will settle accounts. Yeah. He'll purify the church, and the pure church will actually enter into the kingdom at the end of the age.
Exactly. Yeah. And yet at the same time, there is, it's funny because just when you talked about, like, we talked about in the tares one and in this one, there's judgment. Totally. We don't know. Yeah. And yet there's sometimes we know. Yeah. And there's certain things we have to do sometimes, which are not necessarily the most fun or fortunate things that we have to do, like church discipline or Titus the factious man. Yeah. So let's talk just briefly about not the whole process, but
we don't just leave it to the end.
Yeah.
So most things
in
are
some
true.
sense.
Yeah, in some sense. Yeah. So ultimately, judgment has to come from God.
Right, not us.
Yeah, we can't judge. And yet, God has vested the church with the authority to evaluate a person's salvation on some level. Yeah. And that's really an issue of sin.
Yeah.
So if you have someone who's actively sinning and they're unrepentant, what do you do with that person? Well, at the end of the day, you have to discipline them.
There's a Matthew 18.
Yeah. Have we covered church discipline on Bible Session?
We might have. I don't remember exactly.
And we need to go back to the topic list. It's probably good to cover that.
Yeah.
If we haven't. But that issue is actually crucial, right? There has to be that takes place. And at the end of church discipline, he says, the very last words he says, let them be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. What he's saying is they're not believers. Yeah. They're not actually among us. Right. So what's happening there is the final judgment is actually moving into the present day.
Right, future back in.
Exactly. They're actually moving back into the present day, and we're actually evaluating those things. Right. And then he says, I mean, it's fascinating. He says, what the church binds on earth is bound in heaven. Right. In other words, the reality about that person's heart, if they're unwilling to let go of that sin when they've been confronted from it, that's actually revealing that they're actually not a believer. Yeah. And what's true of them that you're saying is actually true. Yeah. Because the church has the ability to do that when it comes to biblical texts that are being violated.
Of course.
You see 99% of the time people get church discipline for sexual sin, right? And they're confronted and they refuse to let go of it. What's actually happening there is they're revealing who they truly are. That's a terror saying, "Hey, I'm a terror," right? Or the bad fish saying, "I'm a bad fish." Absolutely. And they're showing themselves. Right. So sometimes that'll happen. Sometimes they'll just live in more or less obscurity, and you won't see that.
They won't be outright sinful.
Exactly.
Behavior.
But then the end of the age, they will be revealed. So whether they're revealed now or they're revealed then, ultimately God is going to have His judgment, and it'll be made known.
Yeah, and which it's interesting because these are kingdom parables, but it does start off and end on pretty strong notes about 4 soils that are bad, or the 3 that are bad, right? And those are the tares or the bad fish, and then you get at the end the dragnet that separates out for judgment.
Separation unto judgment.
So it's like kingdom, it's like glorious, beautiful, wonderful, but at the same time there's a severe reality there.
Yeah, right. And it's interesting too that in the middle is this idea that, like the one you covered, the hidden treasure and the costly pearl. Like, what does it mean to be part of the kingdom? Yeah, it means to find Jesus most valuable. Right. Like at the end of the day, when we say like, Christ is my joy, I would happily sell everything to be with Him. That's really what he's saying at the core. He's saying true believers, true disciples love me more than anything else because they've known my love for them. Right?
Of course. And that makes you do anything for Him.
Happily. Like you joyfully will give up anything.
Absolutely. Okay.
Good.
Great.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for explaining that.
Thanks so much. Hope that's helpful for you. And we look forward to seeing you next time.